Relay, we're covering today's top boxing news.
How would you kind of rank that performance compared to your other fights?
No, it was still definitely up there. You know, she was a good, very tough, experienced opponent, and it was the same with, you know, when I fought Guanini, I wasn't completely happy with that performance, but I think that's how you improve. You can't be 100% happy with what you do, otherwise you're never going to get better moving forward. So, yeah, I think it was definitely one of my best fights for sure, with like the Guanini fight as well, and like my other fights, but there's still so much for me to work on and improve, and that's the whole point of this, to move forward and face those world champions. That's what you've got to do each time.
Would you take that fight in Puerto Rico as well as a homecoming for Amanda Serrano?
Do you know what? If that was what Amanda wanted, 100% I'd do that. I don't mind boxing as the away person. She's the champion. She gets to choose her rules. You know, I'd be happy to fight her anywhere.
It's one of my favorite unbeaten up-and-comers who was in action this past weekend, Raven Chapman, opposite the ring, Linda Leka. The fight went exactly as I predicted, exactly as I expected. Linda Leka was unable to contend with the offensive assault from Raven Chapman. Unable to hold the center of the ring, giving up ground and shifting her weight onto her back foot in hopes that she could land a counter. She didn't have the speed or the sharpness to do it. Linda Leka, experienced fighter that she might have been. She was experienced enough to survive, experienced enough to weather the shots and go the distance, but not win the fight. Raven's got too many tools, too much firepower for Linda Leka. In truth, I think she's got too much firepower for a lot of girls at featherweight. But the subject here, she wants Amanda Serrano. She's come one step closer to what could be an Amanda Serrano fight, an Amanda Serrano showdown. Maybe it's a bit selfish of me to say that I don't want Raven to fight Amanda, and I don't want Amanda to fight Raven. I'm a big fan of the both of them. It's bad enough I gotta watch Chantel Cameron and Katie Taylor swap punches with each other. I've been a fan of the both of those fighters for years. I'm a big supporter of Raven Chapman. Amanda Serrano, she's won me over. Big supporter of her as well and what she's done for the women's featherweight division, her career overall. I don't actually want them to fight, though they might. Raven's come one step closer. This fight that she just had this past weekend opposite the ring, Linda Leka, was for a version of a WBC title, a regional version of that title, that brings her one step closer to challenging for the full one. If it is her intention to fight Amanda Serrano and beat Amanda Serrano, those eggs need more bacon. She needs more rounds in the bank. She needs a couple more fights, more experience. Stylistically, the fight favors Amanda. It goes without saying that Amanda Serrano has more professional experience than Raven. Yeah. And more rounds in the bank stylistically as well. Amanda's got an edge. Raven Chapman has the look of a mid-range to inside pressure fighter, an aggressive one, a swarmer. Amanda Serrano herself has some of those same qualities, but believe it or not, Amanda's not an according to Hoyle pressure fighter. She's actually a boxer puncher. She has the fundamental boxing skills of a pure boxer with a pressure fighter's volume, a pressure fighter's spike. Boxer punchers, the really good ones, they've got the best of both worlds. They've got the pure boxer's boxing and fundamentals and the pressure fighter's aggression. They can fight going forwards and they can fight going backwards. They're not limited to just one range. That's Amanda. Now, I will say that boxer punchers always lean in one direction a little more than the other. And in the case of Amanda, I'd say she leans towards pressure fighting, a little more than boxing. Even though she's a fundamentally sound fighter, sets all the punches up off the jab, she's not looking for a jabbing contest. She's looking for a fight. Yeah. And opposite the ring, Raven Chapman, Raven would give her one. Raven's not the fighter that's going to give up ground and stay on the perimeter of the ring, circling away from the action. She's likelier to move towards it, changing levels as she does to avoid any oncoming fire, get mid-range to inside, and then let punches go. And Amanda is not the fighter you want to stand in front of, letting punches go. They're both capable fighters, mid-range to inside, and both of them show good variety. But Amanda's more proven, more durable. The war she had with Katie Taylor, up there at 135 pounds. The war she just had with Erica Cruz, one of the more durable and hard-punching punchers in the featherweight division. Amanda Serrano is not uncomfortable in the pocket at all. She loves the pocket. She loves a good tear-up. I don't think here and now that Raven can out-volume the volume puncher, even though she's a volume puncher herself. For Raven Chapman to stand a chance against Amanda Serrano, she has to show that she's more than a pressure fighter. Hard to say that you can beat Amanda Serrano on firepower and volume alone. She's got buckets of that. She's the kind of fighter, you've got to beat her with your feet. Beat your feet. Got to move and punch, play at the angles, use shifts, pivots,
Gotta move.
in and out, picking your spots, picking your moments. Raven Chapman is a gifted fighter, no doubt about it, but she has all the tendencies of the according to Hoyle textbook pressure fighter. She fights at a very fast pace in the whole fight.
She wants to fight the whole fight. She wants to fight the whole round.
Few body shots from Amanda Serrano, who is an accomplished body puncher, could simmer her down. She would easily be the biggest puncher that Raven's ever fought. When this fight takes place,
It's important, and I'm still hoping that it doesn't. I don't want Raven to fight Amanda.
here and now, I don't think she has enough rounds in the bank and enough experience for that fight. So the edge and experience goes to Amanda.
Stylistic edge goes to Amanda, as well as the edge and power.
That's how it looks right now, but they're not fighting right now.
I could see Raven Chapman fighting Nina Menke, who was in action this past weekend. I could see Nina Menke fighting Sarah Mahfoud sometime down the line.
She beat the shit out of both of those girls.
Shit.
Fucking shit. Out of all the unbeaten up-and-comers in today's featherweight division, Raven Chapman looks the most ready to fight for an alphabet title, but I don't think she's ready yet to fight Amanda.
Silver lining is she's got time.
Amanda's currently recovering from a hand injury anyway. She's going to be out for a bit. I imagine they're going to get Raven Chapman back out there sometime over the summer months.
I'm looking forward to it. I fucking love Raven Chapman.
In men's middleweight news, Jaime Munguia's promoter south of the border, Fernando Beltran of Zenfer, says we're trying to get Golovkin for June 10th. We're not thinking about Dimitri Bivol, which is strange because Jaime's promoter north of the border, Oscar De La Hoya, Golden Boy, they've been the ones pushing that narrative.
At least he has.
We are not thinking of Bivol for June 10th, Beltran told Izquierdazo. Jaime has a date with DAZN for June 10th. It was our side who looked for Bivol, but we couldn't make a deal. Unfortunately, Bivol is not very popular. He has been effective in the ring, but he's not very popular. We would love to fight with him in the future, but we are talking about 2 weight classes above Munguia's division. We would fight with him, Bivol, if no one else wants to. If someone runs away from him, Bivol, we will face him. Beltran is hoping a deal can be finalized to get Golovkin in the ring for the June date. We are trying to get a fight with Gennady Golovkin for June 10th.
For those of you that have been following this channel, this is more or less what I was always expecting, except I didn't expect that Golovkin would lose his 2 alphabet titles at middleweight before he got the chance to share the ring with Jaime. Those orders by way of the IBF and WBA.
I felt like maybe Golovkin would sacrifice one of those belts. As it stands, he ended up sacrificing both to stay the course, stay the path.
There were talks about a potential Esquiva-Falcao fight in defense of his IBF title, Esquiva-Falcao being his mandatory challenger. He ended up surrendering the red belt.
Subsequently, the black and gold one to Erislandy Lara. We are trying to get a fight with Gennady Golovkin for June 10th, Beltran said. We are trying. Beltran clarifies that it's not only wishful thinking, but there are actually discussions for that fight to be made. Yes, we have been talking to Tom Loeffler, Triple G's promoter, Beltran said. The truth is that there have been actual discussions and we want to close it soon. We would love to fight Golovkin. We have looked for that fight for a long time, since the beginning of Jaime's career, and we couldn't make it, but we are trying again.
Dimitri Bivol for Jaime made absolutely no sense. It would have been a battle of the unbeatens, yeah, but most people would have went with Bivol to win.
According to Fernando, there were conversations. There was something going on there, some wheels in motion, though ultimately they didn't reach a deal, and I'm glad they didn't, because that fight didn't make sense.
There was a time this one didn't either.
Golovkin versus Munguia had been set to take place in 2018, approximately 4 or 5 years ago, but the contest was rejected by the Nevada State Athletic Commission, who felt Munguia was too inexperienced for such a fight. 4 to 5 years later,
He's had more fights, he's got more experience.
and he has since moved up in weight. Back in 2018, he was down there at 154. He has since moved up to 160 and 168.
These 2 fighters, quite shamelessly, have circumvented other matches, other fights in this division.
The both of these guys didn't want nothing to do with Demetrius Andrade. In turn, Demetrius Andrade didn't want nothing to do with Yanibek Alimkhanalai. That's the story of the middleweight division here today. A bunch of guys who don't want nothing to do with each other except these 2.
They do.
A passing of the torch fight for unbeaten Jaime Munguia, as it were. Gennady Golovkin is not now who he used to be in previous years. He's certainly not the same fighter that he was in 2018. And Jaime,
he's still one of the more limited fighters at or around these weights.
That's what makes him and this fight exciting, that both guys are going into it with a potential handicap. Golovkin's handicap is his age and the gradual decay of time, and Jaime's handicap are his limitations as a fighter, his limitations as a boxer, that he may be many years younger than Gennady Golovkin, but he's never exhibited the same skills of a Gennady Golovkin.
They circumvented a lot of fights to get to this point, though, without condoning or condemning, just looking at the situation for what it is. This fight will likely get the most attention of any fight at middleweight.
You could make Demetrius Andrade versus Jermall Charlo right here and right now. It wouldn't get the same attention that this fight would get. You could make Lara versus Charlo, or Lara versus Andrade, Lara versus Yanni Beck, or Charlo versus Yanni Beck.
Not a single one of those fights, no matter how you mix and match the names, would move the needle more than this one.
Gennady Golovkin didn't go through with the proposed Esquiva Falcao fight in defense of his IBF title the way I expected him to. I expected that he would vacate the WBA title and surrender it to Lara because there's no money in fighting Lara.
And there's no money in fighting Esquiva Falcao either.
But there were preliminary reports indicating that that's the fight Gennady was about to have, and he ended up not having it, surrendering the red belt. There's no titles on the line in this Munguia fight.
That's unfortunate because Jaime Munguia needs one.
So even without alphabet titles, this fight would move the needle more than any other fight you could make at middleweight.
Yeah, it would.
Between the Mexican and Chicano fans that support Jaime Munguia and Gennady Golovkin's already established name and still remaining marquee value, whatever remains of it, it's not what it used to be, but it's still more than most other guys have at this weight.
You can sell this.
I only wonder if it would be DAZN's intention to bill this as a pay-per-view because, let's be honest, Gennady Golovkin is going to have some hefty financial demands. He hasn't retired yet, but he's not still in the sport for belts. He's not still in the sport for glory. He's in it for money.
Just money.
What he wants. In order to satisfy both his financial demands and Jaime's potentially, they might have to bill this as a pay-per-view. They might.
Aesthetically, it'll be a fun fight to watch. It'll be an action fight. Even if Gennady isn't what he used to be, Jaime's
going to do his best to force him to fight, to put the squeeze on that guy. And Gennady Golovkin is either going to respond in kind.
Get overwhelmed.
Jaime Munguia himself is limited enough that Gennady Golovkin can still put up a fight and perhaps fend him off. It makes for a fan-friendly night of boxing.
Makes a lot more sense than Munguia versus Bivol.
This is a passing of the torch fight, and if Jaime Munguia can secure the W and put on a show while doing so,
he'll instantly have more marquee value than most any and every other fighter at middleweight.
So let's see if they make this fight. In reference to Dimitri Bivol, who I mentioned earlier, Eddie Hearn has stated that they're already close to making the Canelo Alvarez versus Dimitri Bivol rematch for later this year.
I just wonder who Dimitri's going to fight in the in-between time, if he's going to fight at all.
A few weeks back, we heard they were going to try to get him back out there in June. We'll see what they do. Eddie Hearn continued, Canelo Alvarez will fight anybody. Let me talk about Mexican monsters. Did you see what Canelo did to Caleb Plant? David Benavidez is a much easier fight for Canelo than Dimitri Bivol at 175. Great fight, but it's a lot easier than Bivol.
I agree.
For that reason, I wanted Canelo to face David Benavidez next and then see about revisiting the Bivol fight at 175 pounds. But apparently, Canelo never actually had that option because 12 days ago, Simpson Lukowicz, David Benavidez's promoter,
he spoke to Sportbox TV official ahead of the Caleb Plant fight, and he told Sportbox TV that the David Morrell fight,
that it's already signed. It's a done deal. Essentially, they already had another fight lined up for David before he even beat Caleb.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No.
Lining up another fight for your guy, making an effort to get him back out there in a jiffy on the heels of the biggest fight of his career, there's nothing wrong with that.
But the whole time they're doing this and booking these fights, they're telling the boxing community at large that Canelo Alvarez is swerving a David Benavidez fight, that he's scared of David Benavidez by fighting a guy at a heavier weight.
Heavier than David.
By fighting a guy up there at light heavyweight who beat Canelo Alvarez already. Eddie Hearn hit the nail on the head. A Dimitri Bivol fight, stylistically, is a much more difficult fight for Canelo than a David Benavidez fight.
Dimitri Bivol's base style doesn't do Canelo any favors, and he already beat Canelo. He would do to David what he did to Zerto.
Those two guys, they're cut from the same cookie cutter. There's not much differences between them. The only real difference is that, Zerto's a southpaw, whereas David's an orthodox fighter, and the both of them primarily rely on their size.
Because they're both very big guys for this weight.
Big guys, and they throw a lot of punches. That seems to be their primary methodology, their strength, but they're lacking in a lot of other areas, and I have no doubt in my mind that Dimitri Bivol would do to David Benavidez what he just did to Zerto Ramirez late last year.
He'd outclass that guy.
Dimitri Bivol is indeed the much more difficult fight for Canelo Alvarez. I very much like Canelo's chances against David Benavidez, but it's hard for me to sit here and say that he stands a chance of beating Dimitri.
Dimitri played with him.
Canelo Alvarez has not the stature, the physical size it takes to adequately carry that weight at 175 pounds. He couldn't put a dent in Dimitri. Just doesn't have enough height, enough reach to employ that pressure catch and shoot strategy that works so well for him down there at super middleweight. Up there at light heavyweight,
It's not gonna work.
at least it hasn't. What Canelo Alvarez does is close the distance, fighting on a swivel, getting off counter shots, accurate, well-placed counter shots to slow his opponents down, and that works for him down there at super middleweight. But up there at light heavyweight, opposite the ring, a Dimitri Bivol who's in and out, playing at the angles.
Just taller, longer fighter.
Longer legs, longer strides, has speed of his own, durability of his own. He may be too difficult to puzzle for Canelo Alvarez to figure out, whereas David is basic.
Well, why do you think an exhausted Caleb Plant was still able to spoil for 5 rounds towards the tail end of the match? I mean, this guy's ready to go. His legs are gone.
He was there for the taking, but David couldn't finish him, and he's supposed to be some kind of fucking monster. Canelo Alvarez fought that same guy, threw less punches than David, but in effect did more damage than David. So much so that Caleb didn't hear the final bell.
He didn't go the distance with Canelo, but he managed to with David. So who's the monster here?
Spin job I've got to listen to for a guy who's naturally bigger than Canelo, younger than Canelo. He's supposed to be some kind of monster. He's supposed to be some guy that Canelo Alvarez is afraid of. He just can't put away a Caleb Plant.
Fuck out of here.
This guy's no monster.
Fuck out of here.
He's basic, and that's what I've been saying all along. I would have much preferred to see Canelo Alvarez clean house and take out the garbage
Trash.
at 168 pounds, then go back up to 175 for a Bivol rematch. But he's got Bivol on the brain. He wants revenge.
It's a champion's mentality, a champion's mindset. That's why Canelo Alvarez, here today at 32, going on 33 years old, he's already got a Hall of Fame career. This is just extra credit.
So it's hard for me to say that a Dimitri Bivol rematch is the way to go. That guy, he's not going anywhere. You can fight that guy whenever you want to fight that guy. What I think, they should have pursued David Benavidez and some of these other guys at or around that weight. Take out the trash, clean house.
Then you revisit the Bivol fight.